Hello. Welcome to episode 113 of the Balance Period podcast, the show where we empower you to be the best emotionally intelligent example you can be for our next generation. I am one of your hosts, Recovery Ray.
And your favorite meditation teacher, the Bald Sage.
All right. So this episode is our mindful reflection of May. As you know, we use this time to reflect on where we've been over the past month and share with you some of the habits that we practice along our journey, along with some of the ways that we plan on continuing to grow into, in this case, June. So, Nick, let's go ahead and start this conversation off on where you were to start this month of May.
So, starting off this month, I know in the last mindful reflection, we talked a lot about the habits that we practice, and I use fun. I said towards the end that fun was something that I kind of neglected throughout my journey because I was so focused on getting somewhere, being something, doing something, all these things. And so I really want to incorporate that this month a whole lot. And I did. And I would say that it just helped me expand my awareness. To put some context with that, I spent a lot of time looking at the construct of our reality and how it limits us. And one of the big things that I would look at is labels. So I always be like, man, labels equal limits. I remember that was my quote for months. And now I'm at a place within my cultivation that I realize that labels don't just equal limits. It's the labels that we accept that equal the limits. And so now I'm at a place where I spend more time creating the labels, how I see them to fit my life and my own journey.
Yeah, that makes sense. To think that a label is bad is missing out on the opportunity that it has to empower you to be, the best version of yourself. So that's dope that you were able to realize that. You said that you started to incorporate more fun. Like, what is fun for you? Like, what do you do for fun?
I mean, honestly, just the expansion of awareness is fun. So looking at things, and then we see stuff how everybody else sees it, but then to see it in another way, and then for that to resonate with you, like that is so much fun to me. So let's look at, I'll use death as an example. We've been so taught to think of death as this negative thing within our lives. Like, oh, they died before their time. Oh, this is this. Oh, this and that. Without realizing that that's just a literal aspect of nature, of life. That's something that has to come. And when you can be in acceptance of that, you now get to look at death from a whole different perspective, not one of loss, but one of completion.
Interesting. So how do you go about, I know we talk about practicing meditation. Is that the primary way that you expand your awareness, or is there what process do you go through?
So that is the number one way that I do. Now, I have been practicing for, I would say, about 8 months now on walking meditation. So meditation while moving. And that's been something that's been very beneficial. But the reason why I choose meditation to do it is because it puts my brain into a theta state. And when your brain is in a theta state, you're more susceptible to suggestions. And so when I sit there and I'll process, let's say a situation happened, I'll look at that situation for what it is, but then I'll ask myself, well, how do I see it? What does this mean to me? And that's me taking all the information and knowledge that I've accumulated from all these different sectors of life and then putting it in that moment to then create my own perspective of what took place.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. So I know one of the things you mentioned last month was that you came up with it was a breathing system, right? Like it was a way of breathing to go into sleep.
Oh yeah, the 1,000 breaths a night.
1,000 breaths. Yeah, that. So was that something that you continue to do into this month?
Oh yeah, that was something I did. Right now, I'm in like a different place now, which we can talk about in a little bit. But that was something that was big on me getting, I would say, restful sleep. Because a lot of times when we go to sleep, especially if you don't meditate before bed, you go to sleep with everything that you dealt with for that day, that week, that month. Especially if you're not letting go of things, you could take stuff from years with you into that sleep and wonder why you consistently wake up so tired. But when you put your brain in a state of relaxation, in a state of, I like to call it oneness, peace, whatever helps you feel good about it, that then allows you to be in a space when you're asleep that you're not holding on to all these things that you carry with you throughout the day. And that's one of the benefits I believe with that meditation brings, is allowing you to be able to release these things that hold on to you. Well, that you allow to hold on to. Or that you
hold on to. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Dope. Well, in I guess the last one, because I went back and listened to the episode from last time. One other thing that you mentioned was that you were going to be exploring more of the dark side of, I guess, life in general.
I did.
So what came of you spending some of your time focusing in on a side of life that most people deem as bad, so they don't even take time to look into it and gain a deeper understanding of what it is?
Man, so I dove into like demonology and summoning and different things like that. And
Man,
that
I didn't
was,
even know demonology was a thing. Like, what is that?
I mean, I'd say it's like the study of demons and just that whole realm of darkness in general. And it's, of course, there's so many perspectives of it from so many different angles, but I chose to dive into like the summoning aspect of it and the relationship between people and different entities. Three of the books I went through was the Lesser Key of Solomon, the Greater Key of Solomon, and Testament of Solomon. And it just kind of talks about how Solomon was given the power over demons and he used them to build his temple. And in the book, they got different like summoning rituals and different things like that. And after I read it, I sat and meditated for a while just on the concept of it. And one of the things that I realized was that let's look at manifestation. So when we create something, whether it's something that we create or something that somebody else created before us, it's energy no matter what. And it takes a vibration to get there. And when I say vibration, I normally mean mental state. And so let's say a person wants to summon something and they've read that someone said, if you want to summon this, you have to do A through Z. So by that person doing A through Z, they're, no matter what it is that they're doing, they're putting themselves in the mental space to experience what this other person has already told them that they're going to experience. And so if you believe that you're going to take or have the encounter of whatever you believe this is going to be, then I would say that you're going to have it when you follow those steps, because you're putting yourself in the mental space that that person was in to do the exact same thing. Of course, I also look at that as a limit, because now we're taking someone else's experience and making it our own, specifically theirs. And so how I kind of looked at it was that if these people looked at it this way, that's just one perspective. There's another perspective you can look at it with. I didn't go super, super deep into it because that was just enough for me to understand that side. But I just thought that was really interesting, that just in the aspect of rituals and summoning itself, it's all about the mental space that you're putting yourself into. If you could walk into it and do it, you would. But for a lot of times, especially with people who don't really live inside out, they live more outside in, they have to have these outside factors in place for them to be able to cultivate what it is they're trying to do.
Yeah, that makes sense. Interesting.
Yeah. I enjoyed myself.
I mean, at the end of the day, that's the most important thing. So
yeah, and I would say
I'm glad that you were incorporating more things that you enjoy into your routine, like you said you would.
Yeah, I would say the one of the biggest takeaways I took from it was my relationship with fear, and realizing that fear only existed in the unknown for me. As soon as it became known, it was no more fear anymore. And so instead of looking at fear as something less than or a detriment, I looked at fear as like a guidance system of, if there's fear here, if there's resistance here, I'm going to push into it a little bit more and see like why I have this, which has been very beneficial.
Yeah, I mean, I know I did something similar because I recognized that fear was the primary driver, or it was the emotion that I gave the power to, that I would say this is what stopped me from taking action on what I felt in the moment and executing on fulfilling my purpose. And so, along my journey, I've redefined my relationship with fear too, and it is such an empowering process to go from reacting to fear in a certain way, and then based on a deeper understanding that you have of the emotion itself, you're able to respond to it now, and now the whole experience is completely different. So it's definitely an empowering process to go through, for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah,
I agree. So what's been going on with you, man? You said you rewatched the episode, so I'm pretty sure you got everything down packed on what's been going on between this month and last month.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that I do, just to go back and just to hear what I was talking about, how I was talking, and to be able to articulate myself in the best way possible today based on what I talked about last time. And yeah, I think for me, it was like last month, it was a lot of change, which is what I talked about. So going into, moving out of the apartment that my girlfriend and I were in to now being in her parents' place, we've We've reached like that first month and a half of being here. So it's been interesting because I recognize that it's temporary, but at the same time, it's experiencing what comes with being in this temporary space to the best of my ability. So it's still appreciating where I am, even though I know that I'm not going to be here forever. And I think it's been liberating to a certain degree, because I know that there'll be other things in my life that are going to bring similar emotions moving forward. So as I talked about last month, I was like, I'm going to develop skills that I might not even have known prior that I would develop. And I think that that's one of them. And I talked about equanimity. I talked about fortitude. And I think moving forward in pretty much every area of my life, I am going to experience something temporary. And it's similar to what you were talking about before, right? Like life itself is temporary. We're only here for a certain amount of time, and then we're not here anymore. So the fact that I've been able to experience it firsthand, and to do so from a perspective where I'm able to just observe it, to not judge it, not to get caught up in the certain emotions that I feel, but I'm just able to be here and experience it. I'm able to now take what I learned and use it when I come up with those emotions again for different events, for different areas of my life, whether that be business, personal, my relationships, anything. I'm now able to turn back to the experience that I've had over these last couple months and be able to use that as a way to say, no, I know how to respond to this, and I can still live a life that I enjoy. I can still experience peace. I can still respond with compassion regardless of what's happening outside of my control. So I think that has definitely been the biggest thing, in my opinion, that I've experienced over this past month, has just been sitting in that temporary state and figuring out how to be the best steward over the resources I have while I'm here, so that I am continually positioning myself to grow as time progresses.
Dope. No, that's awesome. So what you got going on this month? I'll let you start first, since I went last.
Yeah, thinking about what I've been putting my time and energy into primarily it's been balance period. That's been quite a bit of it, to be honest. There's a lot of things that we're working on our business side. We just finished up our pilot program for the Balance Blueprint, which is a program that we designed specifically for educators to help empower them to be the best emotionally intelligent examples they can be for their students. And so the fact that we're coming to the end of that program is, it's kind of bittersweet. It's kind of like now we're transitioning to a different phase of what our business looks like. So I've been doing my best to prepare myself mentally and emotionally and physically to be able to take on the different tasks that will be required to get executed on to help our business grow moving forward. So that's been a lot of my focus during this month. And yeah, once we progress past this conversation, talk a little bit about habit specific, I'll definitely go deeper into some of the things I was doing to set myself up to do that mentally, physically, and emotionally. But that's been what my focus has been as it pertains to my energy. Aside from that is just, as I talked about last month, I spend time on a daily basis, normally to start the day, focusing in on what I value. So I have gratitude, humility, love, awareness, and equanimity. Those are what I value in life. And then I have the areas of my life that I recognize my energy is needed every day. And that's self-care, that's family, that's balance period, that's education, and my investments. So that's where my energy goes as a whole. But a lot of the focus has been on balance period specific over this last month, just based on where we are in business right now.
No, very dope. I appreciate all you do for balance period, and I'm sure our clients do as well. Right now I've been getting back into secluded meditation. That's something I find myself in like every 2 to 4 months. Kind of like what we talked about in the beginning, like I reach a bottleneck in my cultivation. And what I mean by bottleneck is I reach this place where it's like, I know there's something, but I haven't experienced it yet. And so it's figuring out how I can experience it. And when I started getting back into meditation, it dove me into quantum mechanics. And I know it seems like it's like I make these leaps, but in my mind, everything's connected, because when I thought about summoning, that kind of led me into learning about the quantum field a little bit with Dr. Joe Dispenza and a couple different videos on YouTube, which then led me into my own meditations to manifestations and understanding summonings, which has come into my life through meditations. And when I say I go into secluded retreat, it's because the information that I'm receiving, it does come from somewhere else, from somebody else on their own journey. So I like to take that information and spend a lot of time with it and process it into my own. And so right now, that's kind of on the more side that I'm at, because last month and a couple months before that, I always talked about being more creative, putting more videos out, different things like that. And I always felt like I would hit like a wall when I would try to make content. And it's been me spending these times in secluded retreats that's helped me to come out of that shell some, because I get to sit with myself as to, if I want to make this video, why am I even thinking about making it instead of just doing it? What's stopping me from acting and just doing these things? And you start to realize that there are layers within our lives that we have to peel back, that there's things that we've learned that we have to let go of to achieve certain things within this life. And for me, with my perspective that I walk around with now, it's even changed some into more understanding the entire construct of our reality. Like, all the knowledge that we have is only because of what's known so far. We don't know what we don't know. So to limit ourselves with things and believing that they're absolute is stopping us from being able to be the creators that we are and to experience new things moving forward within life. And so that's something that I'm kind of leaning more towards now, is being more of a creator. So I've been putting out more videos, I've been doing more writing, and I'm ready to really expand my awareness to everybody else and help people build a foundation that they can then create their own off of. Because I'm very big on not telling people what to do, but presenting them with information so that they can then take it and then cultivate it into their own perspective and move forward, and then create their version of life so that I can experience their version uniquely specific to them.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes sense. And a portion of what you talked about and like the actual content creation side of things, kind of having those blocks, I think I experienced something similar too. And one of the things that also happened over this past month for me, it was the acceptance of the fact that I am an expert in a few different areas at this point. One is my own story. Shout out to Anthony Murdoch and Circle City Storytellers for helping me gain a deeper understanding of the power of my story. But aside from that, I'm also an expert in the connection between self-awareness and self-care. Why? Because I've lived it, I've done it, and I continue to do it. And at the same time, though, also touching on what you said, at the same time, even in what I'm an expert in, there's still things that I don't know about myself.
Yeah.
And so it was, once I became aware of that, I'm like, wow, like some of these blocks for me as it pertains to creating content were like kind of like imposter syndrome, to where it's like, well, should I be the one giving you this information? But then again, I'm like, I can be an expert and still not know what I don't know and still give you information, and That's okay.
Yep.
So I think I'm grateful for this past month, because it helped me to be able to identify that and to be able to progress past it by accepting the fact that, yes, I'm an expert. I'm grateful for the experiences that I've had. Didn't happen by chance. It happened by intention and effort and action. And I'm okay with being proud of that. But at the same time, still being humble. You know, it's the balance. It's the balance of life. So I'm grateful that we both have experienced that to a certain degree over this last month.
Yeah. And I would throw this in too, because this is something I believe is not just unique to my own journey. And it's also why I'm kind of writing about it too, to help others, is that even when you have these moments of like enlightenment, or what you call expanded awareness, or anything you want to call it, you still made choices in your past that play a role in the life you currently live. That when it comes up, I look at it as, now that I deal with these things, maybe a year ago, I would see it as bad, or see myself as less than, or see it as, oh my gosh, this is so detrimental. But now, by practicing these habits and meditating and all these different things, I now can look at that as, oh, this is just the outcome of these decisions. This is not who I am. This is just a part of the experience. And by doing that, it changes everything significantly. And I would say a lot of it is based off experience. because all of us carry our own perspective. And I even knew hindrance for me was listening to other people's experiences and expecting to have the same. When I, as I said before, use it as a foundation, because the thoughts that they think every day when they're not making videos or they're not talking to people about it are not the same thoughts that you think every day. And so it's best for you to create it out of yours because it's going to fit you personally.
Yeah, for sure. So now you mentioned habits. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the habits that we practiced over this past month. So what were, let's say, like about 3 of them, even if you have 3. I would say new ones, not that I mean, personally, I like to switch up my habits every so often, just because I enjoy variety. So if there's any new habits that you adopted, or any revised ones that you made updates to, let's share them with everybody.
So the first one is being kind to yourself. I realized how much I was so critical of the things that I did. And part of it comes from, like you said a little bit earlier, that imposter syndrome. But I was very critical of myself and very judgmental of myself. And it wasn't always in like an uplifting. It was like, oh, you could have did this, or oh, you're doing this and you should do that. And that was extremely limiting to my experience. And so I decided, as I've said in my videos, how would I treat a friend who could be dealing with the thoughts or the situation that I'm dealing with? And the first thing that I would tell them is everything's going to be okay. And it's just saying that out loud, even when you feel uncomfortable, almost gives your heart like a, because everything's going to be perfectly fine. And it allows me to get in that space to where my awareness can expand. I can see different perspectives rather than the limiting one that I was currently focused on. So being kind to myself has been very beneficial in that aspect. Another one has been, which just now carries over, but is being kind to myself in meditation. When I would hit these, what I call bottlenecks, or places where it feels like I can't really get out of within meditation, it would be for reasons like, oh, well, my legs get tired after I sit here for so long with this. Oh, well, this thought keeps coming up for the past 30 minutes. And why am I going to stay here and do that? And I was reading this book about meditation and the Buddhist way and stuff, and it really talked about being kind to yourself through that. Like, use those points as points of reference. Like, okay, my mind wandered, I get to bring it back. Oh, my body's sore. Why is my body sore? Where is this soreness coming from? Is this because I've been sitting too long? Does my body want to move right now? I can, if I really do need to move, I can lovingly and gently move my leg a little bit. If not, I can sit here and stay here. But I don't need to be like, oh, well, I'm gonna stay here and use my will to sit here for 45 minutes to an hour and a half and do this meditation, but instead gracefully flow. And I find myself being able to hit that theta brain state a lot more easier doing it that way, by just being kind to myself and not bringing up that resistance within. So I would say that would be the second one. And then the third one has been not judging other people's actions, which has been, this is something I'm still very much so working on because it's something new, but I just wanted to share that because we don't realize how much we do that. And I've realized now that when I judge other people's actions, I am so much more likely to do the same to myself and not be nice about it. But when I can look at someone, no matter what it is that they do, and understand that what they did is, like, it happened, it's the situation, it is what it is. I get to choose how I respond to it, which then sets me free from that normal cycle of, oh, well, this person did this and that, and now our energy is somewhere that has absolutely nothing to do with us anymore. And we wonder why we might feel lost or moving in cycles and things like that.
Interesting.
So I would say those 3 are ones I've really adopted lately. I would throw a 4th one in there right now. It's just being a lot more intentional with my meditation. I know a lot of times I used to do like wake up in the morning, do 10 minutes, midday, do 10 minutes, end of the day, do 10 minutes. And as I thought about it, I was really just kind of reinforcing the ego in that aspect, because it would be enough meditation for me to get some awareness or gain some insight, but it'll also be enough for me to puff my chest out a little bit and then just be walking around like, oh, I know this and I know that. And so just those, being aware of those things have been habits that I've been practicing, of just to just look at myself as the observer.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. It definitely, I think at the end of the day, any habit that we practice is not going to change our lives in an instant. We didn't make it to where we are today based on doing one thing one time. So anything that we're able to incorporate into our routine that is designed to help us incrementally improve the quality of our lives, that's what it's all about. And that's what this show is here for, to offer up ways that not only we do that, but that you can gain deeper understanding of ways you can do that in your lives too. So thank you. Thank you for those. Those are pivotal ones for our mental and emotional well-being, for sure. So yeah, let's see. So for me, one, and I know I talked about it earlier to start the year, that one of the focuses, overarching themes for 2021 is to recognize the full worth of my own life, right? To treat what I have like what I want. And one of the ways that I began to do that was to do grounding. So I know the first person that I ever saw post about it was Dr. Jordan Burns. I'm like, I'll go to my Instagram and look at his story, and he's standing in snow or standing in grass. I was like, what is this man doing? So I looked up grounding back when I was still living in an apartment, and I was like, yo, this looks like it's something cool. But in being in an apartment,
bruh,
the grass that you have is covered in poop and pee, because dogs were allowed there. So I was you know what? I'm going to wait until I get a house, and then I'm going to do grounding. And so after about a month of being at my girlfriend's parents' house, I'm just like, I normally, at the end of each month, I ask myself, have you been a good steward over the resources that you've had? And the answer to that was, no, there's a perfectly good yard outside. You can wake up, you can go back there. Yeah, you might look goofy. You know, you might have other neighbors looking like, what is he doing standing barefoot in the yard? Then I was like, at the end of the day, anything that I think along those lines, I've made up. Okay, so go out there and do your grounding every day. So I've been doing it, and it's been phenomenal. I've added it to my morning routine. I wake up, I normally chill with Milo for a little bit, and then I do my grounding, and then from there I come in and do my morning meditation. So adding that to my morning routine has been valuable. It's just been one of the ways that I've been continuing to become a better steward over the resources that I have. So that's been cool. The second one is similar to one I talked about last month. So I mentioned that I use there's something called shortcuts on iPhones that allow you to, like, you click it and then it gives you these prompted questions or whatever you want the action to be based on whatever you want. And I had some that were designed to help me check in with myself and to help me keep track of the habits that I practice. And just as a side note, we have an application in development right now, an application that's designed to do just that. Not only to help you keep track of the habits you practice, but also to help you express gratitude for what you currently have and check in with yourself on a daily basis. So I've been able to upgrade where I do that. I no longer do it on shortcuts. I use the Balance app to do that. And that's been great on multiple different levels. One being that I constantly like to improve the quality of the experiences that I have, and using the Balance app has allowed me to do that. But the other reason is because when I originally started Balance Period, the idea that I had for the company was an app. And the app was designed to help keep you accountable and to help you from start to finish accomplish any goal that you set for yourself. And so the fact that it's kind of come full circle, that now we actually have a working application, it's been great on multiple different levels to be able to use it and to actually implement it into my self-care system and routine. So that's the second one. And let's see, the third, I started to use my left hand to do things, just to switch it up a little bit. Yeah. So in the morning, a part of my morning routine now is I use this app called Himalaya, and it's designed, it has like podcasts and other like audio versions of like courses that they put on there. I did the free trial. I don't intend on paying for it because I found a podcast that I like, and I'll be able to now just listen to the podcast for free. But it's called Thinking Like an Economist. So I kind of pair that with brushing my teeth, and now I brush my teeth left-handed. So I'm able to just switch things up a little bit. I feel like in creating systems for myself and creating these habits, if you just keep doing the same thing every day, you're going to then get the same results every day. And it kind of limits your ability, or at least it limited my ability to grow and to expand my ability to, it's literally just limiting it to grow. But Yeah, so it's been cool. It's been cool to incorporate using my left hand. It was awkward at first. Now it's not so much. I'm able to do it pretty effortlessly, in my opinion. But I've also then added, so as I talked about last time, I still write down the things that I value and the ways that I want to spend my time and energy on a daily basis. But now I write those 10 things down with my left hand in the morning. So my notepad looks a little childish, I would say, because I write left-handed.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah, but yeah, so that's been the third habit, just switching things up a little bit. I think, like I said before, I think variety is so important in not having systems and routines that are stale, because all that's going to do is then, for me at least, it was a way to justify not doing it. I'm like, oh yeah, I do it all the time. I don't need to do it today. And then it's okay. I'll get back to it tomorrow. And anytime I find myself talking about getting back to something tomorrow,
Game over.
I'm like, boy,
it's done.
Come on, man.
That's me. That's a nice way of telling myself I'm done with this.
Right. So yeah, those are the 3 habits. And yeah, I'm grateful for what this month has to offer. Nick, what are some things that you're looking forward to in June?
Man, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens after this secluded meditation time. Every single time I've went in and just focused in on it, I've always come out with my awareness being somewhere different. And right now, the focus going into next month is experiencing. A lot of times we take words and that we suffice that. Like, that's good enough for the experience. Now I'm all 100% about that experience. So when I read about, I would say when Buddha talked about impermanence and understanding that how things are finite and letting go and things like that, instead of just hearing that and being like, oh, that sounds good, I'm going to meditate on it, now it's to actually experience it. What does that feel like for me? This is what I've realized is the more that I experience things, the easier it becomes for me to explain it. And the easier it becomes for me to explain it, the easier it is for me to make content. And with me doing that, that's what I wanted to do in the first place. And so it's just seeing how everything is all connected and it can build in that direction. And so it's really just growing from the point where I'm at now and just keep experiencing the journey along the way. I do, like, even like we went over some OKRs, which was the goals for the company, and I noticed how that could be beneficial in my own life. And so I started to kind of make my own. I didn't really used to do goals like that because I used to think that, well, if I'm only focused on goal, I'm gonna miss out on the journey. But by developing them in this way, I now get to enjoy the journey towards a specific goal. I'm not saying that I set an actual time date to achieve this because it has to do with experience, but I know that by working towards it every single day, it's going to happen, whether it happens in the next moment or with a year from now. But it's just enjoying that experience of that going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I like that. I like that. I like how you were able to take something that we work on for the business and actually apply it to your everyday life. That's dope.
Definitely.
Yeah. For me, I would say going into next month, one, hopefully being able to find a home. The housing market is absolutely absurd right now. So just being patient, continuing to practice some of the things that I talked about in the last episode, from patience, perseverance, just to know and believe that the house that's for us is there. We just, it's only a matter of time before we find it and are moving into it. So just, of course, keeping my energy in that space a little bit. And then, honestly, most of it is with balance period. There's so much moving and changing, from us getting our store to be launched here within these next few days, which I'm excited for, to adding some more players to our team, just kind of creating the systems that we need in place in order for balance period to be able to grow. That has been what my focus has been on, and I'm excited to see what that grows into coming into June. And then, the last thing is the app, which is also a part of balance period. That is continually being improved. So I'm excited, and anyone listening, just know that there will be a time when we're looking for beta testers. So for people to use the app and give us feedback. If you're ever interested, please just reach out to us on social media and we will add your name to the list. We're excited for it to be out there. So when you're ready, and when we're ready, we'll definitely make sure that you all are a part of that process too. So yeah, that's all I got for you, Nick. Is there anything that you want to leave everyone with today?
And as always, you are already whole. And the new one, be kind to yourself. That's it.
Facts. Well, yeah, thank you all so much for tuning in today. Your time and attention is valuable. So thank you for spending some of that with us. And this is just a reminder that you can't fill anyone else's cup if your cup is empty. So be sure to prioritize time for self-care and make sure that you are filling your cup. All right. Thank you all once again. We look forward to sharing some more sensational stories with you next month. And hopefully you enjoy the rest of your amazing day. Peace.
Later.